Is there anybody on?
Nope, just us.
Just us, okay. All right, this is the Board of Health meeting, Thursday, May 18th, 2023, 6 PM in the Land Use Room. It's a hybrid meeting. Present at the meeting is Sue Braska. We welcome Terry Putnam and
Tom Hibbert.
Tom Hibbert. I'm going to just say I want to welcome Terry. We're very happy to have you here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself so that it's recorded?
Sure. Happy to serve on the committee. I have been a resident of Southwick since probably 2000. I'm a nurse by trade. Recently, well, I say recently, in the recent past, received my doctorate from Quinnipiac. And I work with an agency called the Joint Commission that surveys hospitals across the U.S. So again, happy to bring my background and what I see in other areas to the community.
All right, welcome. Happy to have you.
Thank you.
So our board, and I think I've talked to you about this, but we're a 3-member board. Mackenzie Kane's not joining us tonight. We meet the first and third Thursdays of the month, except for the June, July, August, and September. We are only going to meet the first Thursday.
Yep.
However, if there is a conflict or something, we can always meet the third Thursday or even meet the second Thursday, as long as we have it posted.
Right.
On the first Thursdays of the month are 2 nurses, and I have a folder for you that has tonight's agenda, has a budget, and it has the members. Tom, our two nurses, which they give their report. So the last meeting, which was the first Thursday in May, they gave their April report. And then come the first Thursday in June, they'll give their May report. And then there's the 3 members. We recently have, secretary position has now been filled.
Yep.
I just have to get all her contact information when I meet her next week. And our healthcare consultant, which we'll talk about later, is Dr. Wong. And then Tom, when he goes on vacation, these are just some people that he might have fill in.
Okay.
Okay. We usually have a sign-in book. If someone's going to sign in and they want to speak, we didn't put the book out because there's nobody coming.
Yeah, we haven't had anyone.
Yeah, well, we had Mr. Didi last week, and we should have maybe had him sign in.
Yeah.
And what else? It's hybrid, and Tom can send every meeting, he can send out the agenda with the link. So if you're not around, you can just.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can just let Tom or myself know whether you're gonna be here in person or, because we need 2 people for our quorum.
Right.
Okay.
And now that we have the secretary starting next week, I should be more consistent with that because I have forgotten. So,
That's right.
so that will be hopefully every maybe like the Monday before the meeting, get that sent out as a reminder to everyone.
And Megan must know how to do the owl and all that.
Yep, because was a part-time position that they've combined to make her full-time. So she's sticking in her current position she was in as well as being able to help us out. So
the secretary's position, they're hired by the selectmen.
Yeah.
We didn't really have any input, but she's experienced.
Yeah.
The nurse position and Tom's position, how would you say that we're independent, we hire our own people.
Yeah, so I'm hired directly by the Board of Health, and then the nurses are we're part of a grant program from DPH, so it's the Public Health Excellence Grant, and it's all about regionalization. So the nurses are, and I'll talk about that
when you get done.
a bit later. Oh, actually, I forgot to put it on the agenda. But there's new unanticipated things that came up with it. So, but so that we have a separate committee for that meeting, so it's the towns of, Southwick, Tolland, Granville, Montgomery, Blandford, and Russell.
Okay, wow.
So the nurses serve all of those towns, so,
And Tricia's a full-time nurse, and she's Southwick, Tolland, Granville.
yeah,
And Christine is the part-time, and she's Montgomery, Russell, and Blandford.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else, but I forgot what it was. Oh, so the agenda, Tom gets the agenda out, which our secretary probably be able to do that.
yeah,
Has to be out 48 hours ahead of time, so we have to get it out Tuesday by the end of the workday, or by 3 o'clock.
the end of the workday, so
Yeah,
I try not to do it last minute, so like usually 3 o'clock is my goal,
it's because this past winter, those 2 Tuesdays,
right? Yeah,
the office was closed
Yeah.
because of the storms or.
yeah,
All right, so we call it to order public comment. We don't have anybody logged in, we usually don't have anybody. Public comment is usually just public comment, but we're kind of flexible. So we'll answer questions if we can answer the questions.
Right.
If not, we'll just have to wait. Minutes, I did not do the minutes from the last meeting.
okay,
So, I think in the last meeting it was just Jean and I and Tom. But when I do them, even though Terry wasn't there, she can vote, she have to vote to approve
yeah,
them or
I think
whatever.
so,
I would think that's starting today, starting when I was,
Well, even though the minutes were before you started,
yeah, that's kind of sticky, it's all right.
I'll just,
yeah,
And
we can get
McKinsey's not
clarification
here.
on
Yeah.
that,
we're gonna have to get them approved somehow.
yeah,
And the minutes, we have a notebook, we have notebooks in the office which have all the minutes, and then we have to give a copy to the select board and to the town clerk.
Yeah.
So we don't have minutes, and then we already welcomed Terry.
Yeah.
Okay, the physicians agreement, we finally, after months and months and months of
Mhm.
emailing and waiting, Dr. Wong finally signed the contract. It's for a year, but it will renew automatically if nobody
yeah,
wants to terminate it.
as long as we're all good,
And he signed the standing orders, so we had standing orders for administering flus, RSV, vaccines. He signed, I don't know, like 7 or 8 or 9 standing
Yeah, there was a
orders he
good-
signed. And also, he signed the contract, and the contract is, we will give him $400 a year, and he wanted to donate that directly to the senior center, but we can't do that because it's coming out of the grant money, so it has to go to him, and then he can donate it. But I asked him for the W-9 information because accounting wants W-9 information, but I haven't got that yet. The end of our fiscal year is June 30th. Okay, what else do we need to talk about for the physician, anything?
no, I think
In the
that's it.
past, they never even, other than the physicians signing the standing orders, we never really contacted them for anything.
Yeah, just the standing orders and, even flu clinics, I think, including us, I think a lot of boards of health are getting away from doing the flu clinics themselves and just kind of arranging it and having CVS or, Stop and Shop or one of the other pharmacies actually be the ones to administer the vaccine, so, we actually did that at the health fair yesterday, and BHN was there giving, COVID vaccines, so, so I think even, that's what a lot of the standing orders are for vaccination stuff, but I think even less and less, that's something that boards of health are doing directly, but still good to have an option for.
Sure.
So our nurses will basically do, there was a lot of problems with the standing order for blood pressures. They had to be all, the guidelines were wrong and everything,
Right.
so we rewrote it all. And I did get information from a cardiologist, he helped me write them, because that's basically what they do for clinics, is they'll do blood pressure clinics. And Tricia will actually have patients come in here.
Yeah.
People come in here and she'll take their blood pressure.
Yep.
But they'll talk more about what they did on their next, on our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Tom usually gives his report,
Okay, so,
what he's been doing.
so yeah, this is kind of, have a little bit of everything in here, so you'll get kind of a broad idea of, a lot of the environmental health sort of stuff that we oversee. And there's also some, I'll send you a link, there's some new trainings from the, local public health institute, specific for Board of Health members,
Oh,
so.
sure, yeah.
They're online on your own time sort of thing, so I'll send you the link to those and you can do them if you want. But it's helpful to get kind of, a lot of people don't realize how much stuff that
Oh,
we
yeah.
get involved with as the Board of Health. So starting with septic, been pretty busy with perk tests. Did one a couple weeks ago out at 59 College Highway.
Repair.
That's that, yeah, repair. That's the apartment building. I think there's about 8 units. It's kind of up on the hill on the
Mhm.
right as you're going
What's
to
that called?
Granby.
Do you know what it's
I
called
don't
now?
remember what it's called. They don't really have a sign or anything. I think it's just apartment buildings.
So, was there failure? Is it like one system for
There's
the whole?
2 systems. I think one, I don't remember specifically. One system served like 4 units and another system served 6 units or something like that. So just one of them was failed. So it was kind of a tough site because it's that steep hill in the front, so they didn't have a lot of space. So we'll see what they come up with for the design, but, and then the other perks have been out at the Oak Ridge Estates, which is the new subdivision going in off of Mort Vining Road.
Slow.
Yeah, so I included in your folders, the plot plan with all of the lots. So there's a total of 28 lots, and, so far we've done 28, 27, and 26.
How come I didn't get one?
Oh, I should have been one in there.
That's right, I'll take Mackenzie's if
Yeah.
she has one in here.
So that I've got, I think about two days a week scheduled for the next month or so,
Now, do-
doing those.
Now, do you have enough time to do them? Do you need to, if we have
If-
money available still in the budget, we did give you a copy of the budget here, but
Thank
it comes
you.
out, what, every 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah, usually every 2 weeks.
Like, do you,
For now, I'm managing, this week they canceled, because they were having equipment problems, which was nice. But Dennis LaCourse is doing the perks, and he's pretty good about, he'll get everything ready before he calls me. So I'm able to come in, do some stuff in the office for a couple hours at least, if not more, and then I can head out there at 11:30, whenever they're ready.
was ready to throw the water in?
Yeah, so that way I'm not out there all day, just like half the day, but, for now I'm managing, but I will talk to Tom if I need to call him back.
So now, is this, they're less than, oh, do they have open space or something?
What do you
Like
mean?
they're- Well, aren't they supposed to be on that side of town, like 60,000 an acre, 2.5 acres or 2 acres or
I don't know.
200-foot frontage?
Yeah, looks like they all have, well, the frontage varies on them.
Yeah, gee.
But this was approved, this plan is what I got from John Goddard, so this is the approved plan from planning.
All right,
So, so that way,
now is this all wooded or is it field or what?
it's, mostly cleared. But this, like, towards the right, you see the open space stormwater?
Mhm.
That whole area where the road coming in, there's not a road yet. It's all, very swampy. It looks like just a grass field, but it's wet.
Mhm.
So, So that's, I think they're working with conservation, I think they're gonna put in some sort of map so we can drive over it. Which will be nice, cause then if I'm stuck out there all day, I can leave and come back while the perk is going. And that way I can still get other stuff done if I need to. But right now I kinda have to hike over there, and then you kinda, once you're over there, you're kinda stuck, but,
Wow.
so,
And you can't bring a laptop or anything and do,
no. I can do emails on my phone, but there's only so much you can do on the phone, so. But it is what it is, so that's coming along, hopefully we'll be able to, they'll get their equipment fixed and we can keep them moving along, and hopefully if we get at least 2 a day done, then it won't take too long, but we'll see.
so what about these here on the road? Are these houses already here?
Yes, yep, those ones,
They
they're-
don't have lot numbers on.
yeah, they're either being built now or they're already built.
Alright, so we're just gonna need, numbers.
Yeah, but we don't get the numbers. That's why, that's what this is, I'm keeping track as we go of the date we did the perk and the lot number, because they don't get a street number until well after the perks are done, which is annoying for us, because then we have to match up lot number. But if I keep this filled out, then we'll at least have something we can refer back to.
Yeah,
Because it's very easy to mix up.
no, I know, because we
Yeah,
already have. things
yeah.
for- And every developer has their own lot numbers, and so you can have
Right,
4 more, lot 16 more Vinings
right, right,
and not know what, yeah,
right.
okay,
So-
that sounds good.
So that's going well. And then final inspections, I actually did 2 inspections on some of those ones on the front there, lot 8 and 9.
So these are new,
The houses are all up and they just finished the septic systems. And then approved some plans. 58 Vining Hill Road,
these are all repairs?
yes, those are all repairs. Actually, 13 North Pond is, new construction, but the rest are all repairs. 58 Vining Hill and 352 North Loomis. I granted the local upgrade approval to their own well. They were both less than the 100 feet to their own well.
So how much?
But one was like a little over 50, and I think the other one was 60 feet, so.
Wow.
Which
So-
is allowed by the code, so the only difference they have to do is when they go to sell their house, and they get a Title V inspection done, they have to have their well water tested. So, and they should have their well water tested regularly, but
So
we
the
only,
leach field is supposed to be 100 feet
yeah,
from a private well.
yeah. Yeah. So, when it's to someone's own well, it's, an easier process to grant. It's not a variance, the code calls it a local upgrade approval. So that's something we don't need to bring before the board and vote on. It's kind of spelled out in the code to make it a little simpler.
Now, is that put on the deed or anything?
I don't think so. I don't think so. So those ones were tough lots. The Vining Hill one, their lot was big enough, but all the soil in the back was like, they poured water and it didn't move at all, so they would have never got a passing perk back there, so. So they were kind of stuck. And then the one on North Loomis was a smaller lot, and their system was like 15 to 20 years old, and they had got the variance last time, but it had failed again already, so, nowhere else to put it, so,
So for septic systems, Tom will witness a perk test.
yeah,
He's a soil evaluator.
yeah,
You can do perk tests any time of the year now, and you have to look at the soils to determine where the groundwater is.
Mhm.
So there may not be, groundwater might be here, but the soils might be like modeled up here to
Mhm.
indicate that groundwater D is at 2 feet and not at 10 feet. And then, after the perk passes, the design of the registered sanitarian or the engineer
Yeah.
will submit septic plans, and Tom reviews the septic plans to see if they're okay. But when the septic plans come in, a copy goes to conservation first, and conservation checks out to make sure that there's no wetlands and they're far enough from the wetlands. And once we get the okay from conservation, then we can okay the plan, and then building is supposed to proceed and give them the building permit.
Yep, if
Whether-
it's new construction.
Yeah, whether
Yeah.
it's done that way, I'm not sure.
I think it is.
Okay.
So,
And then once the system's in, the installer will do measurements, time measurements off the house to where the cleanouts are and all that. And the engineer will, or whoever designed the system will also come in and inspect it, and they'll submit that to the Board of Health, that everything is okay. Tom will go do his inspection, and then they'll sign off. And then from there, they
yeah,
get approval.
yep. And are you familiar with the Title V inspections?
No.
Okay, so that, Title V is the name of the code that, the state environmental
Governs all.
code, the section that governs septic systems. So anytime you sell your house, if you have a septic system, you have to get a Title V done. And if it passes, then you're good to sell. Sometimes there will be a conditional pass, which the septic tank or the distribution box, something simple, can be replaced. Or if it fails, then that's when you need to put in a whole new system usually. So,
And there's inspectors that do that.
Yeah.
Inspect.
though, yeah, those are done by private, like, they're licensed through the state, but they're private inspectors, and they submit the report to our office, so we have records of all of them. And so sometimes, usually, at least 75% of the time, when we do a perk test, it's because someone was trying to sell, and they had a failed Title V. So that's kind of the process.
And then when anybody has their septic system pumped, the pumper is supposed to submit the septic system pumping records to
Yeah.
us too. So we file them all according to the address.
Right. So, yeah, I think we kind of covered at least a broad overview of the septic
That's
stuff.
Title V.
Title V. So that's the other thing that's confusing with Title V. Every step of the way, because the code is called Title V, there's Title V in the name. So a lot of times, well, people come in and say, I need Title V. And then you kind of have to parse through, like, Title V what?
Mhm.
Usually when they just say Title V, it means the Title V inspection. But it could be the Title V certificate of compliance or the perk test, or that's kind of the key word that people latch onto, so.
Mhm.
In your folder, so there's the Title V, the Bible, but in your folder, the town of Southwick has some regulations too.
Oh, good.
We
Okay.
can make more stringent regulations than the state, but we can't make more lenient ones. So we just have a few, we've really cleaned this up
Mhm.
this past year, because it hadn't been cleaned up since, what, 97 or
Yeah.
96 or something. So you have a copy of our septic regs, but also while we're at it, you also have a copy of other regs that we have in addition to what the state has. The only thing I didn't include in here, I think, is our private well regs,
Mhm.
because that's
Yeah, we're working
that's
on
on
those.
the town's bucket list. We have them, but they need to be updated badly.
Yeah,
And that's another thing too, if it's a home that has a private well, they're supposed to drill the well, make sure there's potable water before they can get a building permit.
yeah. Yeah. So, so 45 North Lake, that was over by the ponds, that was, standard boilerplate, nothing crazy going on there with that septic. And 13 North Pond, that was a pre-existing lot that had a house maybe 10 years ago that was knocked down. So it's considered new construction. So that one, the plan looked good, there no variances or anything. moving on to housing, 2 Lakemont Street, I just left it on to say that we can take it off of our agenda because it was purchased and the occupant is out. And the guy that purchased it is planning to either knock it down or fix it up. He actually said he thought the bones of the house might be good. There's kind of looks like there's like at one point was a porch that wraps around 2 sides of the house that at one point was finished, and that's the roof over that section was like caving in, and so he said that he thinks if they rip that off, they can keep the main part of the house, but well, as long as no one's living there, that's so we enforce the state sanitary code, minimum standards for human habitation. So that's housing. So usually it's anytime we do inspections, like the next few will be complaint based from like tenant landlord sort of stuff. You know, make sure there's heat, hot water, you know, the walls aren't falling in, or sometime in that case, I don't know, that one started before I worked here, the 2 Lakemont Street.
And that was a lot of trash and stuff too,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
condition of the house was really run down, and, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes when the complaints are external from like a neighbor or something, someone driving by, and the house is owner occupied, those ones can be difficult to deal with, because then you're talking about displacing the person or whatever. There's some different ways to do the enforcement, but in this case, you know, for a while we thought it was vacant. We didn't realize anyone was actually living there. And then finally got in touch with the guy. I saw him standing outside when I was driving by, and pulled over to talk to him, and he was like, yeah, I live here. And I was like, okay, I didn't expect that, but he did. So at that point he told me, I'm planning to sell the place. So I was like, all right, I don't want to condemn it and make this more, so I kind of gave him a little bit of time, and he took a little longer than I hoped, but held true to his word, and he did sell the place and he did get out. So so that's a win. So that one I'll take off the agenda because it's currently unoccupied. 440 College Highway, that is that was a tenant complaint. There was a heater that wasn't working and a few doorknobs and things that were broken, and the smoke detector was missing. So they did reinstall the smoke detector, and when it's a smoke detector issue, we always refer that to the fire department because they do inspections as well. So they had the fire inspection, and I did one reinspection previously. Everything wasn't done yet, but I actually just this afternoon scheduled hopefully the final reinspection for next Tuesday. So that way the tenant will be there and the landlord will be there, and or the property manager, and hopefully everything will be done and I can issue the certificate of compliance for that. But nothing that was left was anything
Nothing big.
crazy. It was some cabinet doors were broken, a leak under the sink. Yeah, before, the first time I went, the sink was not draining, and they fixed that, and then the sink was leaking. So hopefully they fix that now, but nothing that should be too complicated to fix. 16 Congamon Road, that one was based off a neighbor complaint, and there's a lot of trash on the rear side and the exterior of the property. Still, yeah, I went back Monday. I had been in, the house is owned by the housing authority, and I had been in contact with both the housing authority and the tenant. It had been an issue last year, and the tenant was aware of what it needed to be done, but I think was having some difficulty either with getting some help to get the trash to the dump or paying the trash collection, because that's the tenant's responsibility, not the housing authority's responsibility to pay for the trash collection,
So now
so.
what's the plan?
So I went back and I was hoping just to talk to the tenant, and no one was home. So I knocked on the side door and then I went back to knock on the back door, and the trash was to the point where you couldn't even get to the back door. So I said, all right, that's enough. And I sent out a violation notice. So, to the tenant, I CC'd it to the, to Westfield Housing or the Southwick Housing Authority. So I haven't got the green card back. I just sent that out Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day.
And so what's the worst case scenario when something like that happens? You send a violation notice, they disregard it, what happens?
Then if they disregard it, then, we could bring them to housing court, and then have a court order. There could be fine, usually, I don't feel like fines are necessary, but sometimes they work. But then we would have the court order to enforce it. And then with any of the tenant landlord stuff, at the same time as our orders are going on, they can also take action against each other as needed. So, so in this case, if it's really not getting anywhere, the housing authority could say, look, we've given you so many chances, you have an order from the health department, you didn't abide by it. And they could choose to evict the tenant and then clean it up themselves. And, if they did a security deposit or whatever. So that's kind of the worst case. And then it also works the other way. If it's we've done an order and the landlord hasn't done it, we can take the landlord to housing court, but also the tenant could get in touch with legal aid or get their own attorney, and they could take the landlord to court. So
Now, when you worked for Westfield, did you take people to court, or did?
we avoided it at all costs. There was a few times we had to, but it's changed over the years. When I first started, which was only 7 years ago, wasn't that long ago, we used to be able to represent ourselves. But then the housing court, not too long after I started, they revised their interpretation of I don't know if there could have been a law change, but so now what they say is you need to, anyone who's incorporated, which towns are incorporated, needs to be represented by an attorney.
Now, when did they change this?
I don't know exactly. So the only time I could file in housing court and represent myself or represent the Board of Health would be for like an emergency condemnation or some emergency hearing or something like that. So if there was a house that didn't have heat in the winter and ordered the landlord to fix it, the landlord didn't fix it, then I could go, because I would probably give 48 hours to fix it. If they didn't do it, I could go right to housing court, file the emergency hearing, and then, so that first hearing, I would be able to represent the Board of Health. If there was any follow-up hearings, we would need town council there, so. So I try, it often doesn't come to going to housing court, and we also have the option of, we could hold, if there's a difficult case where the landlord doesn't wanna cooperate or something, we could call them to a hearing before the board. And we could kind of negotiate a little bit that way, to get them to fix it. So there's a few different options, but,
Well, Tom went to housing court a lot.
yeah. So we would avoid it, but if we have to, sometimes there's no other option, so.
Yeah.
You'll have to explain this one to 3248 Lakeview Street.
Yes.
The history.
Yeah, so Congamon, that one, I think I gave her 14 days to clean all the trash. I gave her 48 hours to make the back door accessible.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, that's Congamon.
Congamon, yeah, so that one,
So I'll just say you sent a
yeah,
violation letter.
violation letter.
Okay.
So 3248 Lakeview Street is, I wonder if I still have the map in here. No, I do not. I'm gonna pull it up on the computer because it's difficult to explain. I just pressed the.
They're budding properties. One lot is owned by the town, the other lot is owned by a resident. But the lots are really close, cause you open up the back door of the residence and the town property's right there.
Oh, wow.
It's real close. And the resident had someone living with her who, they built a shed in the back of their property, which happened to be on town property. And
So you can see
Oh,
here,
wow.
so this lot was, I don't know if there was ever a house here, but this, this town took it for taxes 10, 15 years ago. So you can see how close all these, this is right by the ponds are right there, so, you can see how close all the property boundaries are, so that's the back of the house and the property
Wow.
line right there. And you can see the shed right here is very clearly on the town property. So there was an individual who at one point was living in the house, and things are no longer working out between that individual and the homeowner. So the individual ended up out in the shed with
Living in the shed.
living in the shed.
Okay.
And there's also an outhouse out there.
And the outhouse is on town property
Yeah.
also?
Yep. So,
Was the outhouse there? That was there before they
No.
put the outhouse
no,
there?
yeah, they put the outhouse there. So,
Okay.
so that one,
You didn't tell me this was gonna be so interesting.
oh yeah, we got some interesting cases. So that one would obviously, no one should be living in a shed without any plumbing. And I think there's an electric cord running out to it, but.
From the house?
From the house, yeah,
As
so,
long as she's not mad at him.
right.
Okay.
Right,
And a garden hose?
yeah, I think so. So yeah,
So what did the
still,
say?
I'm still waiting to hear back. I prepared a condemnation order for the shed. And send it to the town council. If that was all going on within the person's property, I would have already sent out the condemnation notice because it's just a little cleaner and makes a little more sense.
It's just nasty.
Yeah.
It's just nasty. I
Yep,
get it.
yep. Given the fact that it's on town property, I was like, I don't know what all of the legal implications are for,
Yeah.
displacing someone who's technically could be interpreted as a tenant of the town being the property owner. So that's why we got town council involved.
So what did he say? Nothing yet.
Yeah, he said that we might, one option would be to order the property owner to remove the shed from town property, and trespass the person from town property. Or we could, and condemn it at the same time, so, they were very tied up with town meeting, so I'm hoping, I just emailed him the other day. So
To
now,
get some
now that
clear
town
cut.
meeting's over, can we get back to this issue, cause I don't wanna let it sit forever, because that's,
All right,
that's
so it's
gotta,
still up in the air.
yeah, so,
Waiting to hear what they say.
so if I don't hear anything tomorrow, I'll get back to them next week and, see how we should proceed. So that will, and it could honestly come to the town having to evict him
Mhm.
from, as if he was a tenant of the town. So,
I mean, basically, he's squatting.
yeah,
And how did this all come about?
believe it or not, the individual living in the shed complained about the person at this house. And at that point, we didn't know that person was living in the shed. And then about a week or two later, the police were called out there, I think by the property owner, because they were trying to get rid of him as well, and then kind of ran into the hiccup of how do you kick someone off of your property when they're not on your property? So, so yeah, so that one we'll keep at, and hopefully gets an answer from town council sooner than later.
And things don't move very fast because these four have been on our agenda. For the
For a
top
couple.
three have been on the agenda for months, it seems.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Lakeview, I think it just the last
last one.
meeting, yeah. So things don't move real fast.
No. Four Dads, that is the old Krabby Joe's. That I just went out, can't remember when it was, I think beginning of this week, with Kyle, the building inspector, and Stan Broska, the plumbing inspector. And they were having some issues with the hand sink locations, and more so the venting of the sinks. So we were able to, having us all there, they had their plumber there, their the guy that's going to be running the restaurant, and the property owner. So we kind of all came to an agreement on how they were going to have the hand sink. So there will be one hand sink that serves the kitchen, which is centrally located in the kitchen, and then in the separate bar, and if you've been in there, like the big kind of round octagon bar, there will be a hand sink there, and that was where they had a venting issue. So they were able to sort that out with the plumbing inspector.
And then they have another sink too in the bar, don't they? For
Yeah, they're like
their regular.
dish sink and everything.
Okay.
And then the other concern was the outdoor bar. So that there's no plumbing out there currently, and their only plans for that bar is to really use it as a bare bones. I think they called it a service bar. Cans, disposable cups, very basic sort of like mixed drinks, but not really anything where there's going to be any sort of food prep. So they're, as of right now, they're not going to have a hand sink at that bar. I told them it was okay for them to have the disposable hand sanitizer wipes. It's not preferred. It is allowed in the code in some instances. So the plumbing inspector really wanted them to have a sink out there. But we kind of came to the agreement, if they ever expand their operation to the point where they're doing a full, do you need a key? Yeah. I think it goes to that door.
That's all right. Terry, this is Cindy Barton.
Hi.
She's secretary to, what committees are you secretary to now?
Historical, EDC, cultural, and high-speed internet.
All right, Terry's our new
Nice to
member.
meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Cindy used to be our secretary, but she moved on. Yes, she's very good.
All right, thanks. So we came to the agreement, if they ever expand the use of that bar to the point where they are doing any food prep or anything out there, thank you, that they would put in a hand sink at that point and make it fully compliant. But with it being just cracking a beer and pouring a drink from a dispenser, I don't think there's much risk. And any dishes and everything which there won't be much, cause they're mostly disposables, will go up to the kitchen. And any food service outside will just come from the kitchen, not from the bar, so.
And so ice and stuff will be kept how?
Yeah, I think they'll have an ice bucket out there that they'll transfer from the kitchen, so, and there is a door, there's like a subfloor there, and there's a bathroom with sinks in there, so if they really needed it, they could go there.
So do they have a, date that they plan to open, or?
They initially told us they wanted to open for Mother's Day, and now I think they are on to Memorial Day is their goal.
Now, Four Dads is like a chain, there's other Four Dads.
Yep, it's the same people that operate them. They have one in, Granby, Hartford, and they're all in Connecticut. I think they have 3 locations, so, yeah. So they have a lot of work to do, so hopefully they'll be able to do it in time for their goal, but might be a little later than that, but,
Now, we get complaints about restaurants like we get complaints about housing, right? So if somewhere we're sitting on the bar and saying, this is nasty.
Yep, so honestly, I don't get a ton, I never did in Westfield either, a ton of restaurant complaints. They do come in, but we inspect 2 times a year, every restaurant in town. And then, like a lot of times, when I do get a complaint, I'll be like, all right, that's time for the routine inspection, and go out and see if there is anything, and if there's like a foodborne illness sort of issue, if it's just, a lot of times, I haven't even gotten too many of those over the years, but a lot of times it's just someone, oh, I ate at this restaurant and I got sick. Okay, where else did you eat? Like when I had one when I was in Westfield, and the person said they got sick like that night. So it had been like 4 hours since they ate at the place, and I can't remember what they actually did go get tested at the doctor. But whatever, I think it might have been E. coli or, but then you look at the time of the onset time, and it's like 3 to 10 days, and it's like, oh, it must have been really bad if you got it in
Well,
10.
usually the staph infection comes on
Yeah,
fast and passes.
yeah, but,
fast. But it's hard to prove that you got it from a restaurant.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people say, oh, I got sick, but they never got tested, and so some of those cases, it's like, all right, I gotta do the routine inspection anyway, and knock on wood, I've never had to actually have a foodborne illness outbreak where there is, I think if there's at least 2 or 3 cases, I can't remember what number considers it to be an outbreak, of the people that ate at the same place, but that's, the state gets involved, and the nurse gets involved, and all of the food histories and all that, so luckily those don't happen as much, but it is unfortunately a possibility, so and then some other inspections this week. Today I inspected a food truck, K&Co. They are the letter K and a plus sign, CO for short for company.
It's a mobile food truck?
Yep, mobile food truck. They are going to be doing some seasonal events at the Bar Shop and the Brass Rail. So they applied for a seasonal license, because that's the only place they're gonna be,
At the Bar Shop?
and the Brass Rail,
Refresh my memory where the Bar Shop is.
the old Norris.
Okay. So there's seasonal, which is a 6-month.
Yep,
I don't know if I included in the fee schedule in your packet, all our fee, I don't think I did. Just to give you an idea of all the different permits we go out and how much we charge. I don't think I included it in there.
I can look at that next time.
Yeah, no big deal, I can always print it out.
Here, it's on our website,
Oh, yeah, that's right, we have
so
a,
we have,
I don't know if you've ever.
those are
gone
all the
on our website.
licenses we give.
Okay. Good, yeah, good. That's through the town, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
town, and then we have
the
a
town,
site.
you the
Okay.
website, and then you
Yeah.
go to committees, boards, and you look up Board of Health, and we have they're in the process now that they had town hall, the town meeting, and they got the code book. They'll
Yeah,
get rid of all our old regulations, and we'll have the new regulations, and Tom's working on, applications, because we can put the applications online.
yeah, yeah.
We're gonna revamp our applications.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress still.
Yeah, so, so that one was K and Co, they're going to be at, the Brass Rail.
Okay, and where, okay, mobile food truck.
Then, a food truck that I licensed as a full mobile is the Saucy Mama. They have been licensed before.
We had a
Um,
vendor on them,
So that was just a renewal.
that's a mobile.
They're going to be at Westfield River on Saturday, so I'll be going there. And then, two more that are gonna be at Westfield River on Saturday is, Batch, which is a ice cream company out of Long Meadow, I think, and Cousins Maine Lobster, which is a lobster food
Maine
truck.
as in the state?
Maine
or-
is in the state, yeah. That one's actually pretty interesting. It's like it's a food truck franchise. So it's like a national franchise, and then just like someone would wanna open a Dunkin' Donuts, it's the same thing, but it's a food truck, so.
Which one, the ice cream one?
The
Cousins.
Cousins Maine
Yeah,
Lobster,
we've eaten at
Yeah.
Cousins somewhere. It might have been at Tin.
Tin Bridge in
Yeah,
Westfield,
yeah,
yep,
yeah,
yep.
Now, do we have folders in these already?
The ice cream one, we've licensed before, and
Cousins, I think. we-
Cousins, I think we have
Yeah,
before as
folder on
well.
it.
But I think there's actually two Cousins that kind of overlap a little
Yeah.
bit. There's one from Connecticut, which is this one, and I don't know if they've ever been to Southwick, but the other one I remember seeing in Westfield was from somewhere in Central Mass, I think,
So I
so,
think we maybe only to the one folder. for
Yeah.
Cousins.
yeah.
And we licensed them for 6 months,
Well,
or
depend-
for
So,
episodic, or?
yeah, so we have, the seasonal food permit, which was what we did for the K and Co. So that is for,
6 months?
someone who's gonna be like at, say like a farmer's market or something like that, where it's every week, we're gonna be at this
Mhm.
place, and then we have the
And
temporary,
Does it say it's good for 6 months to see?
yeah, less than 6 months, so.
Okay, right,
The temporary food permit is, say like the WIC, the motocross.
Mhm.
So there's a bunch of vendors there that whether they have a food truck, or sometimes it can be a setup in the tent, and it's like, this is what we do, we're here for these 3 days,
and that's
and
it.
that's
And
it.
done.
Okay,
So, and then there is obviously, regular food establishments, restaurants, retail is any, the grocery stores, the convenience stores. What triggers needing the retail food license is if you have anything that needs temperature control. So soda doesn't actually need to be temperature controlled, but if they have basically milk and eggs,
mhm.
then they need the retail permit.
It's like Tractor Supply or Country Colonial doesn't need a permit.
Yeah,
I have to just check the dollar stores, because I think.
yeah, some of them could need
Yeah, I
it
gotta-
depending
I
on
have
what
to
they
double
have.
check. And then the mobile food is a good for the year.
Yep, yep, so
mobile
that, the
foods.
mobile food is usually like a fully self-contained food truck. And they have to have a base of operations where a licensed kitchen where they work out of. And as long as they have permission to be on the property, they don't need to notify us everywhere they're gonna be, cause they have a
Okay.
full license from us. The mobile food units also need like it's called a state hawker and peddler license, and there's some other stuff they need to get. So sometimes a food truck, even if they could be licensed as a mobile food truck, a full mobile food license, they might just get a temporary, because if they don't have all that
Less
other
they
stuff,
have to do.
and if they're not planning to keep coming back to Southwick, then they might just get the temporary.
Okay.
So that is mobile food, that is all confusing. So with the applications, I'm planning to make some sort of guide and checklist to help the business owners and us to be able to say, all right, this is what you need. We have everything and all that.
And there's,
Hello,
I was looking for master plan.
I think they're in the auditorium tonight.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
and then there's fees for these, but there's some, like, we don't, the schools need a food service.
Yeah.
Because there's a food service, like a restaurant, and then there's food retail, like a grocery store. But in the case of Big Y, they have food service and food retail, because they do both.
Mhm.
But places like the schools, the food pantry, the rec center, we don't charge for permits for
Yeah.
town things.
Yeah.
Also, when the firemen and things like that, they do like fundraisers, or the Grange, they do fundraisers, and they get a temporary permit. We don't charge for those either, do we?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. There was one, we had the health fair on yesterday. And there was supposed to be a vendor who was gonna do, they had like healthy cake pops was their thing. And so I was gonna no charge them since they were coming to
Right.
our event, but I think one of the people had COVID or something, so they were like, oh, we're not gonna come. So we thank you for not coming, but bummer it didn't work out, but.
But now churches and stuff, they're like exempt. You don't inspect church kitchens or anything like that.
We've
no.
never had one of that.
No.
Yeah, I think it was hit or miss in Westfield. I think if there is an exemption, I can't remember the exact criteria for like the sort of spaghetti dinners and things like that. A lot of the churches in Westfield would have like, we had like a license there that was like limited food prep, so some of them would have that, and but a lot of times the churches would serve, if they have like a bigger kitchen, they would often want to get the full license, because they could serve as the base of operations for food trucks. So they would, make a deal with this food truck, and whenever any of their big prep they have to do that they can't do in the truck, they would do at the church kitchen. So, but most of the churches, I don't think,
Churches don't have.
need it or have it, so. So yeah, I think that's the gist of food.
Very good.
Now, did you already check out these mobile food units or what?
K&Co I did today, and then Saucy Mama, Batch, and Cousins Maine Lobster will all be on Saturday at Westfield River. And so I did the pool inspection for Wilderness Experience on Monday.
Now,
That was good.
are they staying full? Are they,
I believe they're planning to sell, so they're staying open until they sell. But that's their plan.
so yeah, so Tom also, you're a pool inspector, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
he inspects
Yeah, so any
public pools or
any
semi-public.
public or semi-public pool, so, I think Wilderness, couple of the apartment complexes or condo associations have a pool, and the campgrounds, I think, have pools, so, they need to, there's a separate part of the sanitary code that's for the pools, and it dictates what the flow rate and the chlorine and pH and all that, have to be, so. as well as some other safety stuff that we check every time, so. So that one, so Wilderness Experience, they were summer camp for a long time. They're not running the summer camp this year, and they're keeping the pool open, but they are planning to sell the building. So, but the pool looks great. So hopefully they were hoping whoever buys it will keep the pool, but I think they were a little worried that that someone might just want the land and knock it over. But so we'll see what happens there. I think they said they were going to be putting up a for sale sign either this week or next week. So Crepes Tea House, that I don't have much to report on that, but that is if you've driven by those buildings in the back. So they're having some issues, I guess you could say, with planning board, I guess with us and with building. So those, when they initially applied for the building permit, they called them gazebos. But I don't think what they actually built anyone would qualify as a gazebo. Cause they're fully enclosed
Yeah,
and,
start to say it.
you know, so, so I can't speak for the other departments, but our concern is their septic system. So their septic system is rated for about 90, I think it's 94,
Or 90,
90,
yes,
yeah,
97.
94 seats. And then,
Yeah, for restaurants, to determine the size of the septic system, they go by the number of seats in the restaurant.
yeah, so for a house, you go by number of bedrooms. And then for restaurants, it's by number of seats,
And
so,
based on the number of seats or the number of bedrooms, the flow rate
yeah.
is, they determine.
Yeah.
Like, what is it for,
It's-
is it 220 per bedroom or what?
Yeah, it's 110 gallons per day of water usage per bedroom. So usually the minimum for a house is 330 gallons per day. So for the restaurant, it's 35 gallons per day per seat. So at 90 something seats, they're over 3,000 gallons a day. So it is currently a very big system. So their initial proposal to planning, I think they wanted to increase their occupancy up to 144. So we're kind of in a holding pattern of wait until whatever number they're gonna finalize with planning, then we need to make sure they're okay for their septic. So I did talk to their engineer, and I'm waiting for him to email their official proposal to me.
Who's their engineer?
Steve Salvini. But when I talked to him, he said, and it is in the code, I've never gone through this process before, and I don't know anyone who has, but it is in the code. So for restaurants and commercial places larger than 2,000 gallons per day, which this is, they can go by their actual water usage. So they're going to provide me with their water usage records, and if it is, so you can use that to say the seats don't matter, we're only, we're sized for 3,000 gallons per day, but we're only using 1,000, something like that. So,
Did you see that in the code?
it is in the code. The way it's worded is kind of more geared towards if you were replacing your system. So this is a kind of a unique situation. So, so I'm gonna wait until I get whatever their proposal actually is, and then I'll bring it back to you guys, and I'm also gonna bring it to DEP and see what
Yes,
they have to
please
say,
do.
because, I mean, it does make sense on a physical, practical basis
Are
that,
they already using those gazebos? So would that enter into their water usage right now? That would be the only.
no, it wouldn't. So they say they're not using the gazebos, but I know I've heard of people saying they've seen people in them,
Yeah,
so.
already seen that.
So I think they would, we'll see what they submit, but I think we would wanna see that the water usage is low enough that even with an
What they
increase
start,
in
yeah,
seats,
yeah.
it still wouldn't be over that
And
gallons
also
per
it's
day.
in, zone 2 of the aquifer, right?
Yeah, it's close,
Zone 1 is how many feet around, and it's zone 2,
Yeah.
because the town wells are behind there
right, the
somewhere.
town wells are back there and there's a stream right there, so. So yeah, we'll see what they, come up with, I think there are some ways it could work out that they could keep the current system, but we'll see,
Let's just make sure we do everything right,
you're right,
so you ask DEP.
right.
Do you have a contact there, DEP?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah. New housing code, that just went into place on May 12th, and I actually cited, the citation for 16 Congamon Road was under the new housing code.
Meaning,
So,
the wet
yeah,
trash and stuff wasn't under the last one?
no, it was under the last one, but everything, they changed all the numbers, so it's
Oh,
just,
so when you wrote
yeah,
the letter?
so when I wrote the
Okay,
letter,
okay.
it's referring to the new
All right.
code, and they have a new, it's not any major changes, but they have a new draft violation letter and all of that, so.
So we'll use it?
So I,
Just-
yeah, so I did use the new code already. And then licenses, I think I forgot. Yeah, I don't think I told you guys yet. I got my CPO renewed, which is one of the
Okay, which
requirements,
stands for?
certified pool operator. Which was one of the
Things you had to do.
certifications I needed to get for my job description. I had it previously, but it expired. And my system inspector, Title V inspector license as well. That one I was able to just, I didn't have to do a test. I was able to just apply because I have a sanitarian certification, which kind of supersedes the system inspector, but they still wanted their money, so.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So
Thank
you're
you.
all
Very
legal?
good.
Yep, so I'm all up to
Snuff.
snuff.
Yeah, good.
And, Western Mass Public Health, we just had a meeting the other day, that I wasn't able to attend because I had a training here, but we had a meeting, we're planning a Title V conference, I should tell you, Western Mass Public Health Association is, a group of mostly health directors from Western Mass, and we meet usually monthly, and we do usually a Title V conference in the fall, and some sort of public health conference sometimes in the spring, like with housing trainings or stuff, because we all need to get our CEUs and everything for our licenses. So, so that's something that Tom Fitzgerald was a part of, but he still is a part of it, and so I've joined it as well. So we're planning the Title V conference and just working on getting our speakers now, but other than that, nothing to report from that meeting. And the one last unanticipated item is I inspected the pool at Sodom Mountain Campground. And that was good. So they do have to, they couldn't find the documentation for their drain covers. So they are looking for that to get to me.
Okay, now, do they have a store there?
Yes,
It's retail, not, they don't cook anything there.
retail, it looked like they were telling me about it. I don't know if Alex renewed their license in the beginning of the year or if they'll apply when they're ready to start, but they have a small kitchen, and I think they do some like grilling and stuff.
So they're gonna.
So they will need a food license
So
as
they need a
well,
retail and a food
and a
stand.
food, right? Although They might not have, the retail might have just been like soda and candy and stuff.
No milk and all? Is there something you can check on? So we
Yeah,
can
I'll check, I'll have to go back again, so
give
I'll check
yourself a
then.
note. The campground's open now, right?
Yeah,
So can anybody like go up there and take a look around?
I don't see why not.
Right, so yeah, so we don't have to charge them twice if it's just,
Right, right. So yeah, I can check into that. Cause I didn't look too much when I was only in the store part briefly, but it was mostly like toys and candy and stuff like that, like stuff for kids.
so maybe they don't even.
So
need
it might not, they might not need a retail license, they might just be, they might be good with just the food.
Right,
But I'll be up there again, so I'll check at that point.
and the other campground down here, do they have a pool
I think so,
down here?
yep, cause the woman who I think she's the owner,
LaFrance.
of Sodom Mountain, she also helps them out at, I don't remember what this one's called here.
Well, I thought Janice LaFrance sold that one up on Sodom Mountain, and then she just had this one down here.
Yeah, so, but the Stephanie, I think, is the woman who owns Sodom Mountain now. So I think she helps them with their pool and stuff over at,
So you think they have a pool?
Southwick Acres?
Southwick
Yeah,
Acres, because that was another thing too, and does Southwick Acres have a little store?
I haven't been there yet, but I don't think so, but I'll confirm that as well, so.
Is that the one near Blossoming Acres?
Across the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, we're going through the files and I don't wanna charge people things, you know,
Right,
if they don't have the stuff, instead of charging them for all this stuff.
right,
And sometimes they don't even, know, so.
Right.
Does anybody?
they do check it off every year when they apply, so. To a certain extent, if they overcharge themselves, it is on them,
Alright,
but
Terry, do you have an extra pen?
Yeah, yeah.
I got a pen too if you need
My,
one.
my lead is gone. Thank you. Okay, so you're gonna talk about the, grant.
Oh, yes, so the grant,
This is the,
so this is the Public Health Excellence Grant. So that is the 6 towns I mentioned earlier.
it pays for our 2 nurses.
Yeah, it pays for the
Pays
nurses,
for our doctor.
pays for Dr. Wong, and there's this whole criteria from the state of what we can use it for, so, a few other things we're looking at is getting a, shared inspector. Could be part-time or even just like a per diem backup inspector that could serve all 6 towns. We're looking at getting some inspection software, so when we can get a bunch of iPads and we can do all of our inspections, on that and automatically send them out to the, restaurant owner or whatever.
Title V.
And it's pretty, Sue was at the presentation for the software, it's pretty neat, you can take a picture of whatever the violation is and, type up whatever you want, so it makes a really nice, clear, concise report. Whereas now, we're going through multiple sheets and
Sure.
making notes and, you could do pictures, but it's, do it on your phone and email it to yourself and the whole thing, so I think that will make it, if we are able to get that, it will make it really easy especially for housing and food, but, also could use it for pools and, body art, we also license body art in town. There's a new type of body art, which is the permanent makeup, if you've heard of that at all.
The
So-
eyeliner and the,
Yeah,
yep.
yep,
Yep.
so that, I dealt with that in Westfield, that is, new within the past 5 or so years. And it's not currently, even though it's mostly at salons, which those are all regulated by the state, hairdressers and, masseuse and makeup artists and all that. The permanent makeup is considered body art, which the state doesn't have anything to do with, other than they give us model regs for body art. So, it's a little different than a traditional like tattoo gun, but it's still tattoo, so,
In our body art regs, do we talk about that, I wonder?
no,
We don't talk about the permanent, it's not in there?
nope, it's just, it's body art, so.
Okay,
So they need the same qualifications as, they have to take a, skin course, or like an anatomy course, bloodborne pathogens, training, CPR, first aid, and,
so since the state doesn't have any body art regulations, we have our own in here.
so,
The grant, next fiscal year starts July 1st.
Yep.
Anything that we didn't, how much did we get, 180 something thousand the
Yeah.
past 2 years? The first year we got the grant, it was just a lot of chaos. It was the second year before we even hired nurses.
right.
So we have to return anything we don't use. So this year's coming July 1st, we're now getting how much?
Total of 268,000, I think.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, we need the software.
Yeah.
We need, yeah.
Yep, so that, I was just looking at the budgeting today, so I think the software, for the 6 towns, I think will be less than 15,000 a year. So that will be good, so then the state also wants, so I'm currently serving as the, shared service coordinator for the grant, but we can hire someone else to do that, so, cause it is very time consuming, all of the, you have to do quarterly reports on the budget and, all sorts of stuff, so.
But Tom would still be, because part of your salary. He would still be like the administrator, he would still oversee that
Yeah.
coordinator, and he would oversee the nurses.
Yep,
So you would still get,
yep, so, so that, and then the other big thing with the grant, we're kind of, we've been getting the grant, as Sue said, we're going on our 3rd year. But the first year, I think we got the grant and then Tammy left, so we didn't really do anything with it that first year. And then Alex got it started up, and then I picked up where he left off, so. So really, we've been using money from the grant since like October is when the nurses started, so that's when we really got rolling, so we're still kind of in our infancy. So, one of the things that the state wants is, intermunicipal agreement. So they have provided a template that we can use,
put a template in there.
and that is kind of the roadmap for how the group operates. Up until this point, everyone has kind of just been like, oh yeah, we're on board, we're good with that. And Southwick we're the lead agency of the group. So a lot of the stuff that has just been, the board has been kind of making the calls on who we're hiring and everything like that. So, but what the state wants is to have us set up a advisory board or committee, I don't remember what they call it. So each town would have two members that are on the advisory committee. One is like the voting member, and then the other one's the backup. So that way, any decisions we made with budget or anything that we wanted to do specific to the grant, we would have a separate meetings. I think they only have to be quarterly. That would be, so that the 6 towns would decide on, yes, we want to spend this money on the inspection software, so, which is good, I think, because it is a little uncomfortable at times, like when I'm deciding we should buy this or buy that without having any actual framework in place. Like makes me a little nervous that if the other towns are gonna be like, hey, that's not, why are you buying that? That doesn't help us, sort of thing. So, so that's kind of our biggest thing we're working on right now. So we're meeting next Thursday, and the,
Would you send me the link, please, and you can send it to Terry?
yes, I think
too,
I
if you
sent
want
it
to
out.
Zoom in.
I think I sent it out this afternoon. It was probably when you were on your way here. It was
All right.
4:35-ish, I think.
I
that
will
sent
be
it
at
out.
work, but I'll,
Okay, if not, I'll send it to you,
I'll put the,
but yeah,
and, don't mute me.
yeah, I think I did that on accident for the first meeting.
Yeah, because if I'm available, I'd love to
Okay, yeah.
attend that as well.
So, there should be someone from each of the towns. And I have told everyone, the IMA needs to be signed by the select board, or at least the select board chair. So I made sure everyone was aware of that. Please give the draft to your select board or your administrator or town council. Cause I don't want all of us public health people to say, yeah, that sounds great, and then go to get it signed, and what about this, what about this? So hopefully that happened. I had talked to Carl, and he referred it to town council. So that's another thing, I sent it out to them again today, just as kind of a reminder, cause I talked about it well before we had the meeting scheduled, so so now hopefully they'll either be able to give me comment before the meeting, or if they can attend the meeting themselves. There is a group called the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards, or MAHB. We love our acronyms, which I'm sure, being with the Joint Commission, I'm sure you have a
lots of,
lot of
yeah.
acronyms. But so MAHB, and their kind of primary thing is legal advice for boards of health. So they have an attorney who they've contracted with, who specializes in contract law. So he is going to be calling into the meeting over Zoom. So so that's why I'm hoping all of the towns, if they had any questions, they got them to me, and we can hash it all out beforehand, instead of going to get everything signed and then having problems. But
Now, have you heard back from which towns are going to be attending?
yeah, I believe everyone's planning to be there, so
Okay, all right. Okay, so this 268,
yeah,
we have to break it down, what you're gonna give the nurses, how much you're gonna have for you, how much you're gonna have
Yeah.
for supplies, how much you're gonna have for a part-time coordinator,
yeah,
or a part-time inspector, or whatever.
right. So yeah, I've been working on that, so I'll have that ready. So the budget is due on Friday, next Friday. So I'll have everything, a rough draft, and I'll present it to the group at the meeting next
The
week.
budget for the 268,000?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's totally separate from our town budget.
all right, so we're going to give the nurses an increase, their raise.
Yeah,
Is there any software that they require? What sort of documentation do they have to do while they're out and about doing their stuff?
the nurses, I don't think so. There's the state, I guess, I don't know if it's considered software, if it's just a online portal that they do training. It's called Maven. It's the Massachusetts, I don't remember what the A is, Virtual Epidemiologic Network.
Okay.
So that's what, if any reportable illnesses, from hospitals or doctors, they would get reported in there, and then the nurses could determine if it needs case investigation for TB and Group A strep and some of the foodborne illnesses, and I can't remember all of
You've
it.
been-
Some of the social illnesses as well.
Yeah.
We've been talking with the nurses if they needed any supplies to
Yeah.
get them before we have to return the money.
Yeah.
Do they get everything they need?
Yeah, I think so. So we got a new chair, we got, Tricia wanted one of the sit-stand desks, so we got one of those. They got they got a projector, cause they've been doing a lot of, like, public health promotion presentations in each of the different towns, so they got a projector.
Do they have any subscriptions they need to stay
I don't know.
current
It's-
on, or?
Yeah, that's already covered, is all their, any CEUs and licenses for them.
Now,
So
the PC that you wanted to replace, can you replace it with
that's the plan. That's actually with a different grant. So,
different brand?
yeah, that's
Oh my God,
the,
another nightmare.
so, so this, for the Public Health Excellence Grant, pretty much the only thing we can spend on is if it's for shared services, so if it serves all 6 towns. There is another grant, so I think that's pretty much the gist of everything for the PHE grant. So there's another grant that I don't even remember what it's called, Tri-Town, it might be the Tri-Town Nursing Grant.
Oh, that's
And
right, the Tri-Town.
That is with West Springfield and Agawam. West Springfield is the lead agency on that one. So that one is ending, but they had budgeted 30,000. They had contact tracers for COVID. So it's mainly a COVID grant. They had budgeted 30,000 extra for if we had another surge and the contact tracers we had couldn't keep up and we needed to get some more contact tracers. So they had 30,000 that was for Southwick contact tracing, which we never had that next surge. So now we have $30,000 and some very vague guidelines for how we can spend it. So we've been,
Don't you need that car that's got the Southwick Board of Health?
yeah, I don't think no cars,
Yeah.
otherwise
Oh, yeah, that's
that
right.
would have been a good idea.
That would cover it.
So,
And to use it or lose it kind of thing?
hopefully we'll be able to carry it over. I talked to Jean, is the director in West Springfield. Unfortunately, she said she's done this grant before and they were able to carry over.
Well, if we can't carry
But-
over, and if we can buy a PC, can we do it? Just do
Yeah,
it.
that's the plan.
Before
so,
the end of the day, before the end of the,
Yeah, so she won't find out if we can carry over until June. And then we have to spend it by
June 30th.
June 30th. So it's a little tight window, but
Or we could spend it. in
yeah.
30 days.
So one thing we thought of was, all of the air filters that they got at the schools, to, prevent
To have that-
transmission of, so they have the HEPA filters, and I think they got a different type of filter just for the HVAC system. So I honestly didn't think that it would be covered, cause they did all that already, and now they just have to pay for replacing the filters every 3 or 6 months or whatever. So I really thought the state was gonna say, nope, that's maintenance, that's a pre-existing thing, but they okayed it,
So we could buy filters for them?
yeah, so the way this grant works though is reimbursement, which makes it more difficult for us to figure it out. So the schools won't have the money to buy the next round of filters, which is almost $10,000 for like a 6-month supply, until July 1st. So Jean was pretty confident we can carry it over, but we did ask them if they, knowing it's gonna get reimbursed, if there's any other account that they could purchase it from or anything like that. So the same thing with our, one thing that we do know is allowed is computers for any Board of Health Department staff. So the computer for the Board of Health secretary is ancient and slow. So we were gonna replace that computer, get a second monitor, get a second monitor for my computer, and see what we can spend there. The problem is in our, I think that goes into minor equipment, we have $225 in our budget, so hopefully I'll be able to transfer we still have over 1,000 in education and conference and 1,800 in consultants, so hopefully I'll be able to transfer
Yeah,
that,
you can do that,
be
just
able
write it
to,
down.
be able to pay for it, and it gets reimbursed anyway, so, so hopefully that won't be an issue.
And do the nurses use laptops?
Yep, they have laptops those were purchased through the grant when they started, so those are only a few months old.
And the physician probably, for what he does, he probably doesn't need anything.
No, so that's a chunk of it, we have an idea for how to spend, but, so yeah, so that's that one, so we'll think of, hopefully the money will carry over, I think it should, and then we'll be able to have a little time, we did get some,
So we'll know by our next meeting then. 'Cause
Yeah,
the next meeting is June.
hopefully, we did get some, like, manuals, for investigating, foodborne illness, and there was one for, illness, contagious illness in communicable diseases in, children, so we got, I think 4 of those, I think one, Tricia kept one, and then one for, each of the schools. So there's a few things like that where I think West Springfield thought of those and said, hey, we're gonna order some of these, anybody want one? So that, although I doubt, 5, but I mean, those type of textbooks are expensive, but still probably not more than $1,000 for the 5 books, so we're all kind of racking our brains, so maybe West Springfield or Agawam will come up with an idea, and we'll be able to say, hey, great idea, let's do it. The other option, is we could get COVID tests, if we think there's gonna be, if we think there's gonna be a surge in the fall or winter, we could say, we'll spend up the money on COVID test kits to give out to the
Have we used all
community.
ours up now?
Pretty darn close, I don't know if,
I don't know if there's any on the cabinet.
I think
There were a few, well, just down in the
lobby?
in the lobby.
Okay,
when I
so
was
that's
there,
probably
but
all we
Yeah.
have.
yeah, Tricia might have hung on to a couple for those, like, although I think we're less and less getting into those frantic, like, I need a test,
Yeah.
sort of things,
So
but
these new ones were good until what, August?
I think so.
Okay.
In the pandemic, they would be extended by about 6 months.
Yeah,
So probably
oh,
August.
that might not qualify anymore now that the emergency,
If there was a
yeah.
pandemic, it would extend, but
Yeah.
no, not without the.
Right, now without the emergency status, okay,
Probably
Well,
not.
it tells you how long the kits are really good for,
right,
Yeah.
right.
how long the expiration, yeah.
Yeah, when I was still in Westfield, we had a bunch of ones that were expired. But they were still good within their 6 months, and we ordered more, thinking they would be the next batch.
Trying to get rid of
And
all of them.
they gave us 2 pallets, one pallet was good, and the other pallet was full of the ones that were had a week left
Yeah,
on the 6 months. So,
Do we need to, because I know hospitals are stockpiling PPE now. Do we need that?
we have a good
room
amount
for that?
of, yeah, because there was so much free PPE that I've got a bunch of masks in my office, which we've been giving out.
We have thermometers,
Yeah.
we had,
Thermometers,
I think she's got
gloves.
a lot of gloves
yeah,
for now.
we didn't really give the gloves out, but just to have for us, and,
We gave a lot of masks out, we
Yeah.
still have a lot.
yeah, but I think we got some of the, Tyvek suits and gowns and,
Face shields. and-
yeah, so,
Yes, I don't think hospitals will be caught in that situation anymore.
No.
They will
they'll stock up.
Yeah.
Yeah, won't happen again.
So,
Yep.
All right,
Good.
also now, our meetings are recorded, and Jim, I don't know what Jim's last name is,
Middleton.
Jim Middleton, he'll have them on the website next week.
Yeah, yeah.
If you ever need to go back to them, in fact, that's what I'm gonna have to go back to when I type up the minutes from 2
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
Or we could ask Megan to do the minutes from that meeting.
I'm gonna talk to Megan.
Yeah.
See what her minutes are like.
Yeah, okay,
I want her to take a look at our past minutes to see how we.
right, make sure they jive.
Yeah. So if you talk to Megan, or if I talk to Megan, so we'll have to see if she can come to our June, anybody know?
June 1st, I think, is when the Thursday
It's
falls.
Thursday?
Yeah. I can look.
yep,
Oh, I forgot,
What?
on our agenda, I put next scheduled meeting, May 18th.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
June.
June
whatever.
1st.
June
June
1st.
1st is our next one.
and Jim and I are out of the country, so I won't be here for that one.
Okay,
Okay, so it's possible then, if we don't have McKinsey, we may not have a meeting at all.
okay,
In that case,
I mean, I can pretty much do,
could you do?
I'm home the next week.
If we couldn't do it, could you do the 3rd, or should we do the 2nd?
Second,
The
I'm
sec-
not working, so that would be,
the 8th,
the 8th or the
June, the
15th
8th.
would be good for me, either one of those. Sorry about that,
No, that's all right.
that's all right.
Can we do the 8th? Is that good for you, Tom?
Let me check my calendar quick.
I could do either one, the 8th or the 15th.
Yeah, the 8th should work for me.
So June 8th,
Same time?
6
Yeah,
P
6
M.
PM.
Okay.
Do you wanna do just for formality's sake, so Sue is the chair, so she can't make a motion.
No, Jean said I could,
Oh, you can?
I think.
I thought,
Oh, you know what we should do, though? I have to be elected chair,
oh,
because we got
okay,
a new,
Okay.
so you would make a motion to make Sue Braska chairperson of the Board of Health, and then I would second it, and then we
Yeah.
vote. So go ahead,
I move that Sue Broska be the chair of the Board of Health.
okay? And I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
So Terry, aye. Sue, aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're official.
perfect.
So I have to just figure out what to do about those minutes.
Right, so, and then do you wanna make a motion to have our next meeting on
Okay,
we said the 8th,
Eighth.
June 8th at 6 PM rather than,
do we have to make a motion or just have it?
might as well, just to,
Okay,
say
so
we
make a
did.
motion that our next meeting be June 8th at 6 PM. And I
I
would-
second.
okay, second, all in favor? So
Aye.
Terry Putnam, aye. Sue Braska, aye. Opposed? No.
Alright.
So I will email or Tricia and Christine
Yeah.
to see if they can attend by Zoom or come in, or just give us the report.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's not good for them, because usually they come the first.
Yeah.
All right, and then after that, it would be the first, how are you scheduled for the first Thursday in July and in August?
Good, the 1st of July, 1st of August, yep,
And how about the 1st of September?
that'll be the 7th.
Yep.
Yeah, right now, I mean, I will either be able to do, unless, it really gets hard if I'm on Western time,
Yes, you're
West
right,
Coast
yeah.
time, but, I don't have a schedule, so I can
Okay,
try to
right.
work around that, but if not, I'll
Right.
just use Zoom link.
All right, and this meeting was probably a little longer than usual, because we just wanted to give you
Yeah, no, I
background and
appreciate
stuff
that.
and have you know what's going on.
Nope, I appreciate that, this was very helpful.
Except we need your folder, we should have brought you another folder.
What do you mean?
Well, because Tom puts,
Okay,
brings
oh,
us
I'll
back to
just
the
take my little,
office.
so I can take my little stuff out of my
you take all
folder?
your stuff, yes,
Take my little
and then
stuff out of my
we put
folder.
this folder in our room and Tom adds stuff to it, so we should
Feels
give
so
you another
special,
folder.
Mhm.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Alright, anything else?
No, so
No.
anything, I would say, anything that you think is helpful, forward me in an email.
Okay.
you know, any educational stuff, that would be great.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's make a motion to end the meeting at 8:42,
7:42.
7:42.
And a second, or did you make that motion?
Oh, you go ahead, you make the motion.
I move that we adjourn at 7:42 PM.
Okay, I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Terry, aye. Sue, aye. Opposed? No? Okay. So that's the end.